Tool Talk Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilbreth, darkhookmedia.com.
And I'm Maximilian, and don't misconstrue this wonderful holiday, but I want to wish you all a very happy National Weed Appreciation Day.
Okay. Weed, like in the garden that you're trying to get rid of.
Exactly. Although I don't like getting rid of my weeds.
Yeah, I bet, man.
I have like a whole barrier of thistles around my yard.
You are counterculture, so, I might celebrate today by bringing Allan a batch of kudzu. I know what a fan you are.
Well, so. Max, don't worry. I celebrated today by giving all of mine a nice, close haircut.
There you go. Well, we would love to know how you're celebrating National Weed Appreciation Day. Hopefully you don't misinterpret. Either way, we would love to hear from you. The best way to get in touch with us is at the Tool Talk Radio text line at 901-921-7105. You can send us pictures that are tasteful, Allan, or send us your messages there. Hey, if we read your message on the air, you get yourself a Tool Talk Radio swag pack, which is whatever Allan decides to pull out of the swag closet. But it's usually pretty good stuff. The tool
we got
belt,
some nice
sure.
stuff. We do.
Hey, coming up today, Allan, you've got a little science segment. We're going to now, correct me if I'm wrong, modern latex paints. Boy, I mean, there's some serious science in there.
That
right?
is a serious game changer in the industry.
Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna hit that. We've got our must-have item of the week, which is you're gonna find it gripping. That was stupid, but you might. Anyway, in our Tool Talk Radio Weekly Salute, we want to pay a big tribute to concrete. I mean, you could say, Allan, it is the foundation of society in many ways.
In so many ways.
Another joke.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I wasn't even trying to be funny. So, and we've got quite a bit more coming up that we're not going to tease. But before we get to that, go ahead, Max. It sounds like we got a message, right?
This comes to us to our good buddy Steve.
Talk to me.
Dear Tool Talk Radio, thanks for ruining my marriage.
Now that's a good opening sentence. Right to the point.
Must be Joe's advice.
Yeah. All right.
A few years ago, my wife and I discovered your show, and we enjoy listening while we make our breakfast and run Saturday errands. As a result of this, however, something terrible has happened. My wife is now learning to fix things around the house, which used to be my job. Worse still, she's figuring out how long it actually takes to do these jobs.
See, there you go.
There was a time, as he would say, where I could send her off to go shopping for the afternoon while I selflessly stayed home and spent the next 5 hours replacing the garbage disposal. Or more accurately, spend 30 minutes replacing the garbage disposal and the rest of the time watching college basketball. But those days are coming to an end. Love the show, and thanks for nothing, Steve.
Wow. Allan, I feel his pain, but I think Steve's he sounds like a newlywed to me. Would you ever complain about this?
Well, you know, it's the Scotty theorem of how to get the job done.
Talk to me.
You ever seen Star Trek?
Yeah.
You know who Scotty is, right?
Of course.
You know, every movie, every episode, there's the big explosion, the big thing goes wrong, and you got Kirk screaming in the thing, Scotty, I've got to have those engines. Scotty comes back and says something like, you know, it'll be 24 hours, Captain. And then Kirk always comes back and goes, you got 6.
Right.
And then Scotty's like, yeah, all right, whatever. Yeah.
Even though you know he's going to do it in like 20 minutes.
He's going to do it in like 20 minutes, right?
Right.
So as the Scotty theorem of how to bid a job, you know, you always pad the length of time it's going to take. You know.
Oh yeah.
If you're going to cut the yard, it's going to take a couple hours. Mm-hmm. You know, you got to take some water breaks. You got to move some stuff. You got to, you know, the fact of the matter is, if you plan it properly, you got a good hour and a half of your feet up.
I think the problem with Steve is he didn't pull enough tools out of and leave them laying around, and maybe just, you know, drip a little water on the floor, make it look messier and more involved. I don't know. I mean, you're going to have to work on your game, Steve, but I don't think I would be. I'll tell you this, Allan, you know, 20 some odd years later into marriage, if my wife actually wanted to fix stuff, you think I'd complain about it? I'm the only one that fixes stuff around the house.
You'd be grateful.
I would not complain at all. Steve, I just think I don't think this is going to ruin your marriage. I think this is, if you do it right, There's a way to play this to your advantage.
Embrace change.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I think there's a way forward for you, but I don't know that you can say we ruined his ruined his marriage. I don't think so. Regardless, Steve, you're getting a Tool Talk Radio swag pack. I don't know. It's kind of insulting, Alan. The guy makes fun of us, says we ruined his marriage, and you're giving him stuff.
Well, kind of works out that way. But I know he's going to wind up with it.
Oh, wouldn't that be ironic? So
Absolutely.
okay, yeah. So Steve, when you get it, I'm sure Alan is going to include one of the nifty Tool Talk Radio tool bags with the dual pouch. I think there's even a pencil holder space. We want to see a picture of. I'm sure your wife's going to wind up the one.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wearing that. Send in a picture, and just a reminder, folks, if you want to get in touch with us, you can contact us directly at the Tool Talk Radio text line 901-921-7105. Well, Alan, let's just tee this up, and then we'll unpack the conversation when we come back from the break. Go ahead, Max.
Hail science!
There we go. Right on time with his intro. All right, Alan, what do you got for us in science?
Well, I think we need to go revisit our dear buddy latex paint.
Oh, yeah.
Because that is just one of those fundamental foundation blocks that basically modern repair, construction, DIY is built around.
Latex is, because I guess we just sort of take it for granted. Most people don't know any different. We do have oil-based paints, which I'm actually a big fan of for wood trim, but there was a day, that's all you got, and it was full of lead, and it was messy, and it took forever to dry, and it was probably, deadly.
Well, let's go back in time for just a brief second and tell you the history of paint is, up until latex, the history of lead.
Yeah, lead is an interesting, I guess, I don't even know why lead is in paint.
Lead was the paint for thousands of years.
Okay. Melted lead. They just melt. Well, I guess I don't know why it's in there. Why is lead in paint? So
because it kills things.
Okay.
Like bugs and fungus and mold, and keeps your house from rotting.
Huh, interesting. Okay, well, with that little tease, we'll find out more when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I'm here to clean the carpets. Most of the world is carpeted, and one day we will do the cleaning.
30 years ago, I would say that's a can't-miss business model, but there's too many hardwood floors out there, Alan. I think they're going to go bankrupt.
I wish them all the best.
I love his ambition, but you're just a few decades too late, buddy. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio. I'm Joe Thorson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Alan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can reach us directly. It's pretty direct. I'm not saying we're going to answer in real time, but if you want to get in touch with us and share your thoughts and maybe share some of your home improvement triumphs or better yet, confess to home improvement failures, or you just want to talk tools, get in touch with us at the Tool Talk Radio text line. You can send us pictures as well. Chat us up at 901-921-7105. And if we decide that your content is interesting enough to share on the air, we'll be mailing you a Tool Talk Radio swag pack. And Alan's pretty good with buying swag. I have to give you credit, sir. When we go to these live events and stuff, you bring the swag. So.
Well, you got a little bribery action going there just a little bit.
Yeah,
works out really well.
All right, hey Alan. Before the break, we were talking a little science about. I guess we're making a distinction here. Modern latex paints, really modern paint versus what we used to do back in the day. How did our ancestors ever really get us here? How did we survive as a species? You just look at some of there was no OSHA.
No,
we were
there was
breathing
no OSHA.
in horrible stuff. I don't know, but
well, and when you get to paint, it gets kind of fascinating because you actually go back to the Egyptians, the Romans, the Greeks, and you get back into the world of gold and lead.
See, that's what I never understood. Gold must. I guess what I'm wondering. I'd pick a lead or gold as a solid object. I know you can melt it, but
But it's
How does that
soft.
mix into
it's pliable. And the great thing is that basically you could find it in a usable form.
Yeah.
So it's not like bauxite where it had to take centuries and centuries later for us to come up with aluminum.
Oh, yeah.
So, there wasn't a great deal of processing. So if you found a good copper vein, copper could be beaten into shapes. And, so metallurgy came along. And they discovered that if basically you ground up lead really fine and soaked it in wines or vinegar and coated a piece of wood with it, the bugs wouldn't eat it, the fungus wouldn't destroy it. And you keep now, the minute you have something like that, you have artists. And they start adding pigments and other things to it to create different effects.
Yeah, because Michelangelo doesn't care about bug proofing things. He wants that red to pop, and
he wants that
all they care about is the color.
Yeah, he wants that linseed oil to really work and carry that ochre pigment. And the great thing about all the paints up until about the 1940s is they're fundamentally an oil based.
Can you imagine that? Just painting your walls and it's oil based. You'd have to get out of the house.
You moved out when somebody came in and painted the house. So then we're going to jump tracks a little bit and we're going to go talk about cars.
Okay.
Because rubber, tires, vulcanization, what else could we do with this substance? And if you happen to know of a certain substance called chicle.
Yeah, tell us what that is, because I just think
chicle is basically the sap of the rubber tree.
Oh,
and it has a lot of uses up to and including a brand of gum called Chiclets.
Right.
Which was just basically sweetened rubber so you could chew on it.
Loses its flavor pretty quick. I hate to say,
I'm just pointing out.
Not to bash Chiclets, but, anyway.
Well, but, as we find different technologies and we really begin exploring them, you suddenly see how they begin to cross over.
Right.
Because I believe it was the Sherwin-Williams Company in somewhere around the mid-40s introduced the first true latex water-based paint featuring the binder from a rubber tree.
I guess that's what I'm wondering. When we say latex, people, because we have latex gloves, is it the actual rubber substance? That's the game changer?
That's where the name came from.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
And so, the game change in all of this is the name latex stuck. Even though we've moved on into better chemicals.
Okay, is this like a mindset? Because now that you're saying this, I'm just thinking of my experience with oil-based paint, and I know it's the same as everybody else's. It's, okay, if you have some oil-based paint on a piece of old trim, or maybe there's like 5 layers, it's very brittle, it's very stiff, it's not flexible.
And it might have lead in it, so it probably might be poisoning you.
But latex, even the wall paint, there's a flexibility to it. Is that like a change in mindset where they said, hey, what's wrong with having flexible paint or a flexible sealant?
Well, this is also where you get to confess your technology.
Okay.
You and I both know, and we say this all the time, about how things move, expand, contract, and breathe.
Right.
Your house is not 100% stable.
Right.
So now, instead of a paint that would pop or crack because the house shimmied a little in the wind, now you had a rubber-based or a latex-based paint that had a little flexibility to it. It could have a little give.
Yeah.
And congratulations, it dried faster. It didn't stink as bad. And another really cool feature is we could get rid of the lead.
So, and it's just, you just wash it with water instead of having to use mineral spirits and the fumes.
We're not in there fighting with the turpentine.
Yeah.
So welcome to one of those off-the-wall kind of paths from the ancient Egyptians to the modern big box store when you walk in. And now we don't even have to walk in and buy a color that's on the shelf.
Right.
Now we walk in and you can honestly, on your phone, have a picture of a color that you want.
Right.
They can scan it. They can look at it. You can match it to a card. Or better yet, you can just cut a piece off of what you want, bring it in, they'll color match it, and they will custom blend the pigments right there at the counter.
Hey, I'm just sort of spitballing an idea here, but you make me, I will give you this, Allan. You always make me think about stuff. So we had years of putting lead in paint, putting gold in paint, putting, berries and stuff. Well,
titanium, yeah, anything.
Then they switched to putting rubber in there, which is basically the latex portion. What do you think the next, if we could figure out ahead of the curve what the next chemical or the next item that's going to be put in paint, we should invest in that and we could make a fortune. I mean,
that is kind of how you do your futures and predictions.
Okay. Do you got any thoughts? Or I guess we better talk off the air. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but I mean, you're a chemist, you're a scientist. You could figure us. Maybe you should invent that. You could lead the way forward, Allan.
Well, our next show might be our investment show.
Okay. So, I mean, this is how you make money, right? You get ahead of everybody else's ideas. And
you get ahead of the curve. You create a product that becomes indispensable. And, well, there you go.
Okay. So, I mean, it continues to advance. And, like we say, every time you want to complain about the era we live in, just think, at least we don't have lead-based paint in our paint anymore.
We're doing pretty good.
We're doing okay. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Brought to you by Squid Motors. Every vehicle you purchase from our showroom comes with a free 10-foot live squid in the trunk. Get even more than you bargained for at Squid Motors.
I mean, the key there, Max, is you just get yourself one of those saltwater pools, get yourself a fleet of vehicles, and you're good to go, man. You got yourself a whole menagerie. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can get in touch with us directly at the Tool Talk Radio text line. We would love to hear your stories of home improvements gone by, or maybe home improvements gone bad, or home improvements that you're especially proud of, or maybe you just like talking about tools. This is the place to do it. That's a place to interact. You can get in touch with us and send us pictures that way. And if we like what you do, if we like what you sent us and we read it on the air, you will be mailed a Tool Talk Radio swag pack. So get in touch with us at 901-921-7105, 901-921-7105. All right, I've been looking forward to this discussion. Max, go ahead.
Tool Talk Radio's weekly salute.
Kind of butchered the intro there, Max. Okay. Well, there are some things in our society that are somewhat incidental. There's some things that we are easy to overlook, and there are some things that I would call foundational, and that's what we're going to discuss today. I guess it is a really hopefully Allan's going to give us a little history on this as far as how far back this goes. But today we're gonna salute concrete. I mean, do we have a modern society without it, Allan?
No.
I mean,
just bluntly, no.
No. And I tried to research it, and really it was difficult to see how far back it goes. But I did find highlights of concrete throughout history.
So far, archaeologically, the oldest piece of concrete found was the floor of a house. And it dated to right around 7,000 BCE.
So a house, because this must have been a king's palace or something.
No, this was pretty good. This was this wasn't just your local livestock corral.
No, never mind. You answered my question because I thought you might have been talking about that one in Scotland, where it's the oldest house that's intact still.
Yes, but this is a floor found during excavations, and it goes back 9,000 some odd years.
So, Allan,
that's a long time for a concretion to come together.
Well, we think about concrete. I mean, you go to the big box store, you get a bag of concrete, you mix it with water. It looks like a lot of powders. It's mixed with rocks, and probably you have to imagine there's some sand in there. But what were our ancient ancestors sticking in their concrete? Because the Romans sure had it figured out. So,
well, the first thing you start with is, of course, just good old-fashioned peat and mud.
Okay, tell us what peat is.
Yeah, well, peat is Well, you go to the big box store, you buy a big bag of peat moss, and it looks like some kind of compressed vegetable matter dirt. And that's honestly what it is. It's a composted vegetable matter.
Joe, don't you have a twin brother named Pete who's full of dirt?
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I was going to say, well, I guess that's pretty weak insight. He would expect better ridicule than that, Max, but it sounded, what you're describing sounds like the stuff Max, I see him eating in the break room. But,
Well, probably.
okay.
So
But it has certain properties of longevity. Didn't they find that Pete Bog man, the guy that was intact?
Well,
The Toland man.
the Toland man.
yeah. So exactly. So different areas around the world, different sands, muds, and stuff. Basically when you build something, there's a crack. Mm-hmm. So like we're stacking logs on top of each other. We're building a nice, good wall. Well, guess what? The logs aren't exactly perfect. They don't go together exactly. So you rub a little mud in it, you pack it in there, and you discover over time certain areas had better mud.
Right. Well, that's a good
and then
point.
you
All mud.
pre-mix stuff, or, so let's just say in the case of the Romans, at the foot of this volcano, they got this really good mud, but by the time they got it back to where they wanted to use it, it dried out.
Right.
So then they went and got a bucket of seawater, because they had plenty of that, threw that on it, scooped it together, and it began to become something new.
Right.
And it got harder and it cured, and examples we're still driving around on examples of it today.
Yeah. Well, what I studied or what I learned about Roman concrete, for one thing, some of them put blood in it. They had blood, volcanic ash, and seawater seems to be the magic formula. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alan. Doesn't it create like a self-healing concrete? Like, in other words, there's chemical activities taking place that are basically healing the concrete whenever there's splits.
Well, yeah, exactly. When you begin adding oxygen back to the mix, it begins to react again, and that is why certain concretes from the past are still with us. Basically, every time you opened it back up to oxygen, it went, all right, it's time to start reacting again. And this is something that we've rediscovered, and we're now looking at the almost nanotechnology, the chemical level technology that creates this, and we're going to be moving forward with this. Well, welcome to modern construction. And what I'm really looking forward to is additive manufacturing with a reactive concrete. Translation: somewhere in Austin, Texas right now is a developer that is 3D printing the concrete walls to a house.
Okay, because we see a lot of that. We're seeing like literally, it looks like a giant 3D printer, and it's rolling out. It almost like looks like a dough out of a a cookie dough or something. But it's. I guess the trick with that though is we're learning about the technology of how to make it dry fast or cure.
It does dry some, but technically your paints and concretes are chemical reactions that honestly can go on for decades.
Like the Hoover Dam, right?
To be honest, the Hoover Dam was still curing and cooling 20, 30, maybe 40 years after it was built. Okay. So welcome to concrete. And then you get into where we added reinforced concrete.
Right.
Because concrete is brittle. It'll break. It'll snap apart. So it made a great filler around rocks. But to actually make concrete stand up on its own, we began adding metal framework. And concrete got even better and stronger and even more versatile. So now we can honestly 3D print walls, which is just amazing.
Kind of hurts your brain. Yeah.
You can stack them, build them. You can have different configurations. And like you said earlier with the Romans, they learned different chemical combinations made the concrete perform different jobs.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, it's interesting how it keeps evolving. I mean, and the Colosseum's made of concrete, right?
And stone and a lot of brickwork, and it's still standing.
I mean, okay, man.
That's
I'm
just an
thinking
amazing construction. Yes.
We went to Rome when we were kids, and I just remember, I mean, you'd be walking down the street, and it's like, oh, well, there's something that's 2,500 years old. I don't know. There's a lot to learn from our ancestors. We're going to wrap up our thoughts about concrete when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
We have radon coming from below. We have asbestos in the ceilings. These are silent killers.
You are the silent killer.
I mean, he's not wrong, but he's just so irritating. I almost would rather deal with the radon than Toby.
Oh, well.
He's just, whatever. And welcome back to Tool. That guy just ticks me off, Max. Thanks a lot. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. If you want to communicate with us and send us your thoughts and interact with us, you can get in touch with us at the Tool Talk Radio text line. Shoot us a message, and if we like what you've said, we'll send you a Tool Talk Radio swag pack. Get in touch with us at 901-921-7105, 901-921-7105.
And what if you don't like what they say?
Well, then that's what the delete button's for, Max. That's the beauty of text, That's puts us in control. So, but hey, before the break, we were just showcasing. Really, we were just in our weekly salute talking about concrete. It's a pretty vast subject. I don't even know. I mean, I've seen documentaries about concrete, but really is. I would sure love to know the first person that ever used it, though, because I have to wonder what they stuck in there. It seems to me it would be like a combination of mud or I don't know.
It's going to be, all right, picking on Catherine the Great's castle.
Yeah.
It was made with a lot of different kind of limestones, and what they accidentally discovered years and years later is chemically not all of the limestones like each other.
That's the other thing.
It's the chemical process.
Right.
So I am sure 9,000 years ago, this guy was packing down his mud floor and began mixing together 2 or 3 different items, and it got wet, or he put it in wet.
Or
he or she,
Allan.
and or the whole family.
So the Neanderthals had honey-do lists too.
This would have been in the Middle East, so I don't think it was a Neanderthal.
Okay.
And lo and behold, they came back the next day, and this thing was firm and hard. And
right.
Congratulations, 9,500 years later, some archaeologists dig it up and went, hey, look, the floor still looks good.
Pretty well done.
I
mean, I like to guarantee the work I do, Allan, but I don't have a 9,000 year guarantee.
Yeah.
Maybe 50 years.
That's like the Guinness Company. They had that 1,000 year lease or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, that's our salute of the week, concrete. And if you want to enjoy yourself, go on YouTube and go down the rabbit hole and learn all about concrete. It's pretty, actually a fascinating conversation. But it's time to shift gears. Max, let's get to our must-have item of the week. And if you can't see this through the microphone, tell people what I'm holding up, Allan.
You were holding up one of my favorite tools in the world, and that is an angled needle nose pliers.
It's amazing what a difference the angle makes. For one thing, I'm sure people are familiar with needle nose pliers, but that angle is game changing.
It looks like something you'd either see at a dentist office or like a mechanic shop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know which dentist you're going to, Max, but this thing's about if you count the angle, it's a good 8 or 10 inches long. But that. I'm sure there's leverage and everything that comes into play here, Allan. This thing, man, you can get a grip on some stuff.
Oh, man. And it gives you that extended get around reach. That corner.
Mm-hmm.
You drop that bolt back there, that little darling will slip back there and get a grip on it. Now, that one also has the wire cutting feature, which is very important because that's a large port.
Right.
So when you're working with stuff like Romex and that kind of thing, that angle gives you some really improved ergonomics.
Yeah.
On getting that baby done. So wire stripping, cutting, getting around the corner, getting a good grip. It is an inexpensive multi-use tool.
Absolutely.
I have to ask this question. The idea of marrying 2 really prominent tools, is it possible in theory to create a hybrid of needle nose pliers and vice grips?
Oh, we have those, Max. That was our must-have item recently. Yeah, I'm glad you don't remember that segment. So, but no, they do make versions of that. You're right, and sometimes that's what you need because you need that flat clamping surface. So, but this move, I would even say too, if you can only get one pair, if it's only in your budget to get one pair of needle nose, get this one, man. It's a multi-purpose.
It's fabulous.
It's got tons of grip, and we love it. So the must-have item of the week is the angled needle nose pliers. All right, we're going to shift gears, Alan. Let's find out what we did this week. And do I really want to know what did you do this week? Because folks, if you're new to Tool Talk Radio, you should know Alan and I practice what we preach. We're out there in the field.
We are
doing home improvements. That's how we make our living. So
well, today was a cry for help from last week of landowner had put in a rather extensive, kind of fancy schmancy raised garden a couple of years ago.
Oh, nice.
And it's actually killing them.
Yeah.
It's just miserable. Nothing worked. It just was a complete disaster. So I got out there this morning, took one quick look at it, and I went, well, at least you bought cinder blocks. So
wait, so you're talking about where it's like raised up, it's elevated up probably a few feet?
Yeah, it's a couple of cinder blocks high and everything. Yeah, this was it so looked fabulous, but it was just a disaster. And so it's kind of like, all right, guess what we're going to do? We're going to spend an hour yanking up cinder blocks and getting this weird Alice in Wonderland maze you people built. It's got to go away because you don't have any usable beds. You just have weird little building things. So we pulled all that out. We relayed it back out. We looked at where the sun was going to be, a big thing to look at when you're out of garden. How much light is it going to get? Where do you want to put what? And then we took a shovel and hoe, kind of flattened out the dirt, and relayed out the cinder blocks. And when we got done, the shocking thing is she had almost 3 times the usable gardening area and almost double the enjoyment area.
What do you mean by that?
The area where you don't have a garden.
Oh.
where you can just go sit down in your garden and enjoy it. You can get the lawnmower in there. So it went from very, very impractical to now very enjoyable.
Is it one of those things, Alan, where there's a lot of like empty space in the middle? Because I really like that philosophy of having all of your stuff in the corners as opposed to having a lot of clutter in the center.
You would absolutely love this garden, Max.
Yeah, because it's that's sort of the key, right? I mean, you want to do yourself a favor down the road. Like, don't make it where you're going to dread doing this, because then you're just going to let it die. It's going to get overgrown. I guess it's appropriate. Today's International Weed Appreciation Day, Max.
I mean, exactly.
Yep, I appreciated a lot of them to death.
It's funny because I'm not much of a landscaper, as you know, Alan. You like to make fun of me about that, but you do make some good points. You got to think about where the sun's going to be. You got to think about drainage. You got to think about whatever. And don't just place these willy-nilly, I mean.
Well, also think about what is it you want to grow.
Right.
Doesn't matter. You want to grow flowers? Great. You want to grow potatoes? Whatever. But each one kind of has its own niche.
Yeah. But, one of the benefits, I will say, of listening to Tool Talk Radio, Alan's pretty well versed. He from science to home improvement to landscaping, because I'm pretty useless, but you pick up the slack on that one. So.
Well, we're going to get your yard in shape this year. We're going to work on yours.
Okay, so you're going to be working on it, and
probably.
Okay, but another interesting episode of Tool Talk Radio in the can. But it's time to get out of here, you guys. So on behalf of my buddy Alan Gilbreth and our pal Max over there behind the glass, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening to Tool Talk Radio, and we'll see you next week.